Mitch Marner and the future of the Maple Leafs, uncertainty or strategy. Do you think Mitch Marner truly wants to stay with the Maple Leafs, or are we just witnessing a strategic game behind the scenes? The situation might be far more complex than it seems. For now, the Toronto Maple Leafs and Mitch Marner appear to be on the same page. But how long will this harmony last? Behind the scenes, the reality could be quite different from what is being publicly portrayed. It all started when GM Brad Treliving stated that despite a turbulent trade deadline, the organization and Marner were aligned. However, this statement came right after the Leafs made a bold attempt to trade Marner to the Carolina Hurricanes. The big issue: Marner has a no-trade clause and simply refused the idea. Does this mean he wants to stay in Toronto for the long haul? Or was this just a smart move to strengthen his position in future negotiations? What we do know is that this decision could have a massive impact. Marner is entering the final year of his contract, and according to Pierre Lebrun of TSN, he is in no rush to sign an extension. This could mean two things. Either he felt disrespected by the trade attempt and is already planning his exit, or he is playing the long game to maximize his market value. And here's a detail that could change everything. Did Marner reject the trade because he genuinely wants to stay with the Leafs, or simply because he didn't want to go to Carolina? The Hurricanes are a strong team, but they don't have the same level of visibility as the Maple Leafs. In Toronto, every move Marner makes is scrutinized, his media presence is constant, and this could be crucial for building a legacy and, of course, securing a massive contract. Speaking of contracts, sources indicate that Marner is looking for around $104 million over 8 years, which would amount to about $13 million annually. A high price, but one that could easily be surpassed if he reaches free agency. So, the big question: are the Leafs really willing to pay that much to keep Marner? Or are they already planning to go in a different direction? Behind the scenes, there are rumors that Toronto has already started exploring potential replacements. There are even reports that they made a move for Mikko Rantanen, one of the NHL's top goal scorers. If this is true, it means the franchise is already preparing for a future without Marner. And has Marner noticed this move? Is he playing the best card he has: time? By rejecting the trade and delaying a contract renewal, he keeps multiple teams interested, making the Leafs' decision even more complicated. Either they agree to pay what he wants, or they risk losing him for nothing. It's worth remembering that this wouldn't be the first time the Leafs have faced a situation like this. William Nylander also took a hard stance in negotiations a few years ago and managed to secure a favorable contract. Is Marner following the same path, or is his departure already written? At the end of the day, the question is clear. Does Toronto still see Mitch Marner as an essential piece for the future? If so, they will have to pay a high price. If not, maybe it's time to seek a trade before it's too late. Now I want to hear your opinion. Should Marner stay with the Leafs, or is it time for Toronto to make a trade? Leave your comment below. And of course, if you want to keep up with all the latest Leafs news and major NHL moves, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and drop a like. But there's one factor that could completely change this scenario. Time is working against the Leafs. If Marner decides to take this negotiation into free agency, Toronto will find itself in an extremely delicate situation. Losing a player of his caliber without getting anything in return would be a devastating blow to the franchise, especially considering how difficult it is to find immediate impact talent in the market. Additionally, there's the issue of team chemistry. How does a player with an uncertain future affect the locker room? Will his teammates still see him as a leader within the team, or will his hesitation to sign an extension create an atmosphere of uncertainty? And more, the impact on the Leafs' cap space is enormous. If Marner is indeed seeking a contract in the $13 million annual range, it would force the team to make tough decisions about the rest of the roster. Would keeping Marner mean giving up reinforcements in other critical areas? On the other hand, if Toronto chooses to trade him before the deadline, the return needs to be immediate and significant. Clearing cap space alone won't be enough. The Leafs need a trade that brings real on-ice impact. Among the most speculated scenarios, a few possibilities arise. A trade with teams looking for an elite offensive star to take the next step toward the Stanley Cup. Acquiring a package that includes a high-level player and draft picks, allowing Toronto to restructure its core for the future. Trading for a player with a longer contract, ensuring the Leafs don't lose a key piece of the roster. Regardless of the decision, Toronto needs to act fast. The patience of the fan base has its limits, and the Leafs' history in situations like this doesn't inspire much confidence. If they wait too long and Marner reaches free agency, all that will be left is regret. And now the final question. If you were the Leafs GM, what would you do? Keep Marner at any cost or try to trade him before it's too late? Leave your opinion in the comments, and let's discuss the future of the Leafs together. And of course, if you want to keep up with this saga and all the NHL's big moves, subscribe to Leafs News Fan Report, turn on notifications, and drop a like. As a Leafs fan, I have to be honest. This situation with Mitch Marner is becoming unsustainable. We know he is a talented player, one of the best playmakers in the NHL, but the truth is he has yet to prove he can elevate the team to the next level in the playoffs. And if there's one thing every Leafs fan wants, it's a team that can finally break through and seriously compete for the Stanley Cup. Now let's talk numbers. $13 million per season. That means committing a massive chunk of our cap space to a player who, as skilled as he is, has yet to show he can carry this team in the toughest moments. And the worst part? If Marner drags this negotiation into free agency, we risk losing him for nothing. That would be absolutely unacceptable for a franchise that has suffered too much from bad decisions in the past. If Marner truly wants to stay with the Leafs, he needs to prove it, both on and off the ice. But if he's just playing the waiting game to increase his market value, then I'd rather see the Leafs act now and make a smart trade. This team needs reinforcement, especially on defense and in goal, and using Marner as a trade asset might be the best way to balance the roster. What I want to see is a Toronto Maple Leafs that finally learns from its mistakes and doesn't become hostage to situations like this. If the front office has the courage to make the right move, we might come out of this saga even stronger. But if we sit back and wait for Marner to make his decision, we could end up with nothing. And now I want to hear from you, Leafs fans. Does Marner still have a place on this team, or is it time for the Leafs to move on? Leave your comment and let's discuss the future of the franchise together. And of course, if you want to keep up with this drama and everything happening behind the scenes with the Leafs, subscribe to Leafs News Fan Report, turn on notifications, and drop a like. Let's keep an eye on this because this story is far from over. And that's exactly what worries me as a Leafs fan. How many times have we seen this team get stuck in tricky situations without acting quickly enough? History has shown that waiting too long can be costly. And if there's one thing this team cannot afford right now, it's to waste time.